Welcome back to Comic Book Savant. I'm your host, James Harris. And this episode, we're going to be doing a review of Arrow Season 6. This season has been a very interesting one for the television show. Season 5 was one of the most impactful seasons they probably had since Season 1 or Season 2. It really turned the show around. The show had been considering by most fans kind of floundering. Seasons 3 and 4, it found its footing last season, so it was real curious going into this season 6 on how it could follow up from one of its strongest seasons it's had probably since the first. And it rebounded considerably well, with all things considered. Overall, I still think to date, season 5 was a better season overall, but this one was, just slightly under it overall. It was some really good progression with your main characters of Oliver, him being split between being mayor and that continual storyline with him trying to balance being mayor and either stop being the Arrow or the Green Arrow and passing that off to Diggle, and the issues that he had with the team. Most of the storylines and themes that carried over from the previous season continued throughout with very strong performances. And I have to say, just right off the top, that I think Stephen Amell, though these are getting categorized more and more as comic book or hero kind of soap opera drama things, I feel like he is a really good actor that doesn't get enough credit for his acting ability. We do know he keeps himself in great shape and he does well in the action scenes and all that kind of stuff. But he did a really good job balancing taking on the role as father for his son that they brought in previous seasons, and him being the primary guardian since his mother was killed in last year's season finale. That him really stepping in the role as father, being responsible as a mayor and really caring for the city, and being torn with it all in it being the Arrow. And I think he did a good job portraying the different levels of emotion, action, conflict within himself, and really reflecting on all his actions that we've seen him go through and seen in flashbacks and current day stuff throughout the different seasons, all of it kind of culminating throughout the season and the sacrifices he makes towards the end of this season and leading even into the season finale for the setup for season 7, which was announced, I think, a couple of weeks before the season finale for this season aired, which is cool that we know we have another season, because I really think these past 2 seasons have really put this show back on track, and it's in a good place right now, which as you see me do these different CW show reviews, you'll see some other ones that I don't feel the shows are in the best shape that'll be coming up, but I'm going to reserve that to those points in time. But Arrow, I feel like, is one of their shows that's kind of in the strongest position right now going forward. I can see the show lasting. If they keep it on track where they're at right now, I could see it going, maybe even making it to 10 seasons, since we're already hitting season 7. That's if they stay on the current track that they're on right now. They did a thing with their villain. I kind of like they switched up their format this year. It wasn't one main villain. It was what appeared to be, and then they kind of did a switcheroo, kind of a la Luke Cage, where you was like, oh, here's Cottonmouth, and it was like, no, it's Miranda. They kind of did a similar thing here, where we had Caden James as your first villain, to find out that we had Ricardo Diaz, aka the Dragon, be the real mastermind behind everything that was quiet in the background the first half of the season to emerge at the midway point and took us into the end. And he wasn't killed off or dispatched easily. They slowed him down, but he's gonna be back next season, which is gonna be very interesting. I love the actor. What is his name? Kurt Acevedo. I've known him for years. I first became familiar with him, gosh, I don't know how many years ago now, back on Oz, the HBO series. He was one of the characters on that show, and he did phenomenal work. That was very mature show, very graphic. He brings a touch of that. He's And he's been a great character actor on different television shows, but that's when I really first learned of him at all as an actor, which is like 20 plus years ago now. So to see him on this show playing the villain on the level which he's doing, I love it because I've always been a fan of his. And to see how he portrayed it and his spin, he was probably one of the darkest villains that they've had to date, and really pushed the envelope on TV, on the TV side when it comes to Arrow. Considerably. So I'm interested to see, and he's proved to be a tour de force. So they're going to have a lot on their hands because he's going to come back, and we know when he comes back from just what we've seen this season, people are going to go down, and we lost people. You know, the two main cast members that we lost this season, we lost Willa Holland as Thea Queen or Speedy. She left the show. We heard right before the season finale, then we saw in the season finale also that Paul Blackthorne that played Quentin Lance, he was leaving the show after being, these are two original cast members that are leaving after, multiple years. And I hate to see Paul go because I really liked his take on Quentin Lance and how the character evolved through the seasons. They wrote him off, or if you've seen the season finale, he was killed by Ricardo Diaz. Just the up the ante on how dangerous he is. And I kind of understand it at this point because him as an actor, they were struggling to find storylines for both characters, but they've left it open for Thea's character to come back. They put her kind of on a quest. She can pop back anytime here. They kind of left that open door, but for far as reports that I read that she's overall just leaving the show. It's going to be interesting how they long-term tackle that. But, it's fine because I felt like those two characters more so than any from the original cast, they were really struggling to find storylines for them. So if you're not going to do anything interesting with the characters or you don't have storylines for them, why keep them around just to kind of pedal around? And that's why I felt like the past couple of seasons, that was kind of the state they were stuck in, at least for the past two with both characters. So I'm not mad at that at all. I like the secondary character development with the team. Now, one of the biggest missteps I will say, and this is what hurt my overall rating for this season of Arrow, is that and Mark Guggenheim, I read an article where he was being interviewed and he said it was a major misstep, and they read fan responses kind of wrong and thought it would be nifty to do. They kind of did their riff on Civil War with Team Arrow, and they were split and they were fighting each other, and it was a total fail. That those episodes were some of the roughest of the seasons to get through. I liked seeing the development that Diggle had in standing in as Arrow, the rapport he had built with the team, and I felt like the team was closer than ever. And then they kind of brought Ali back in. He tore the team apart like overnight, and it just didn't fit with everything they had built up. So it was very a forced storyline, and it didn't pay off. And he said he regrets ever doing it. It was just a total mishap on his part, thinking that the fans would like something like that, and it just totally missed. So that hurt it, that season overall, because it was kind of in that middle part, transitioning for the first half of the season to the second half of the season, leading into the tail end where everybody kind of comes back together in the end to set up them being in a better place for season 7. But it really hurt the team dynamic. But those characters, Mr. Terrific, Black Canary, Wild Dog, they did really good development on their characters to keep their characters growing. So I've loved the way they've handled them since they introduced those characters last season into the show. They're keeping them developed well, and I want to see where they go in future seasons. They've really sold me and made me fall in love with them as characters and as part of Team Arrow. If they're going to be back to Team Arrow next season, because the season finale ended in a weird kind of place. We saw Oliver sacrifice himself and to go to prison for them to get immunity so they can continue to protect the city, because they have a feeling that Ricardo Diaz is still out there, which we got a shot in the finale of that being the case. So I don't know if they're going to continue to work together or how that's going to go, but it sets up for a very interesting 7th season. The one theory I have about season 7 is that it was it died in production. It was a movie called, let me look at my notes here, Green Arrow Escape from the Supermax, that got very far along in development. It was going to be directed by, what's his name, that wrote the Blade movies, Goyer. That was being developed, and it got pretty far where Green Arrow got framed for murder, got sent to a supermax, and he was in prison with all these different, villains that he had put in jail, kind of escaped from Alcatraz type thing, that he had to form an uneasy alliance to kind of get out. But this whole setup, it makes me feel like they might borrow from some of that. It got, like I said, it got pretty far in production till it just kind of fell apart. I think the movie was kind of ahead of its time, what it was trying to do. This was, I think, before Man of Steel came out, but around the time of the Nolan Batman movies. So it was a couple of years ago, and they thought, hero movies weren't established to the level that they are now, and they felt like, Warner Brothers felt like it was a real risk to do it, and they didn't do it. And a few years later, the Arrow television show has came out, and it's been a bona fide hit ever since. But it seems like it's setting up those elements for them to kind of do some of the themes from that script that they had. So it'll be curious to see. I wanted to rank the seasons of Arrow. So if you're not too caught up on Arrow and you want to know kind of where to start or what seasons are best, I'm going to do from worst to first on this. I think if I'm ranking the seasons, Arrow season 4 is the worst. Season 3 is next. Season 2. Season 6, excuse me, and then season 5. I put those in the wrong order. Apologize for that. So they're all available on Netflix, so you can catch up on all the seasons. And I even think that season 6 now, they have a deal where as soon as the finales aired, they are uploaded onto Netflix immediately. So like other reviews you see me do in the past, I will have links here. So you should check out Black Lightning, which I've done a review for. I have a playlist of television, TV reviews, season reviews that I've done that I will put down in the description box below, because so far I've done all the CW shows that's ended to date. So I've done Black Lightning, I've done Legends of Tomorrow. So you should see links here for them, and you'll have a link to the playlist on the channel for the reviews all in one shot as well. So don't fret about that, but they all should be available on Netflix, so you can check Arrow out, Black Lightning, Legends of Tomorrow. The Flash just ended, so that should be coming available very shortly as well on Netflix, so you can catch up on all of those. And that review is forthcoming. I'm trying to get them out as quickly as possible for you guys, so don't worry about that. I'll have reviews and breakdowns of all of the seasons of the different CW shows. It's just making sure I see them, get my notes done so I can sit down in front of the camera and get all those done for you. But all in all, I would have to give, have to rate this season a 9.5 out of 10. I was really surprised. It has some downsides to it. Like I said, that whole Civil War thing, but with the villain, with Caden James, the first part, Michael Emerson, which I love from the show Person of Interest. That was a great show on CBS. That was a really, really, really good show. He was great in that show, and of course he was on Lost. I never watched Lost. I know him from Person of Interest. He was great as the first half season villain, and then just the Ricardo Diaz with Kirk Acevedo, he just knocked it out the park. And as good as Michael Emerson was, he just paled in comparison to Acevedo. He just stole the show with that being the villain. So definitely this season is a must watch when you have time. The summer's coming up, so you can do binge marathons on Netflix. This is one season you definitely want to check out. And again, if you want the condensed version of watching Arrow, start with season 1. You probably you can skip season 3 and 4, and you can watch 1, 2, then 5 and 6, and you can get the gist of what the show is and the greatness of the show. But they're all available on Netflix, so you can catch them all if you like. But if you want a condensed version, 1, 2, 5, 6. That's all I have for you for this episode of Comic Book Savant. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Click the notification bell down below so you'll be alerted when new episodes drop on the channel. Also, leave a comment down below. Tell me what things that you really liked in this season and things you didn't like. And are you excited for the season 7, since we know that it's coming? What things are you excited for? What things you would like to see? So don't forget to comment down below, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. All right, take care, and I'll see you soon.